Hey Deviants, my name is Micah Marquez, your curator at Deviant Events, an organization built on sex positivity, body positivity, and drug safety.
And I'm Leon, the founder of Trappy Hour Harlem, one of Harlem's most ratchet black queer parties. And today we're talking about safe spaces. Since we're both curators of safe spaces, let me start with asking you where you're going in this safe space outfit.
Yes, so we are very intentional with how we're dressed today because this is an outfit that I would wear at Deviant. Being a body positive environment, like we ask people to come boldly as who they are, to like drop the labels, forget about what you're wearing for other people, and just wear what makes you feel empowered. So,
And I'd
yeah.
wear this to trap because I feel like a little bit tradie comes off
Okay.
easily, makes me happy. So tell us about what a safe space is.
Yes, so right here I have the definition as a place created for marginalized individuals to come together to communicate regarding their experience with marginalization.
Basically, a place to shake your ass in peace
Amen.
without being bothered by the outside forces of whiteness or straightness or those difficult things.
Yeah, I definitely think of safe spaces as just places we can go to let our hair down. You know, I think as black and brown people in a white dominated society, we need those opportunities to just not think about wearing a mask for a moment, you know? Likewise, as queer people, in a heteronormative dominated society, we need spaces and opportunities to not think about putting on for straight people. And I think definitely, I know that Trappy Hour allows us the opportunity to do that every Thursday, every Sunday, and
Yeah,
Deviant once a month, same thing.
yeah, and that's that intersection, the intersection of being black, being queer, and trying to make those things meet at peace.
Yes, and I love that you bring up intersection. So, intersectionality, right? It is this idea that we are not one or the other thing. As black and brown queer people, we have that nuance of an experience. Like, we are not, you know, we are on the road of black and brown, and then there is this road of queerdom, and we are right there in the middle. We never get the opportunity to disown either one of those experiences. So intersectionality is just that, if you can literally think of an intersection. Hey Deviants, it's your boy Michael Marquez, and I am here with the legendary, gorgeous mother Stasha Sanchez. Stasha Sanchez, sorry. Added an I to your name. Stasha is an entertainer, a house mother. Stasha, what is a house mother for those who don't know? No, that's it for those who don't know.
People don't know, yeah. I'm also a house mother and a pageant mother. So, I mean, a mother is just someone that steps in and do the job when you're not with your bloodline. You know? And sometime in our generation or our family and our community, it's all about who do we pick, you know, to love, and who do we pick to share those things with, and you know, we have chosen family.
Yeah, and this episode is actually all about safe spaces.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that you bring that up because you were and always will be, in a sense, my mother.
Oh yes.
So, okay, mother, tell us, tell us how that history started.
Well,
How do you go about choosing your kids, rather?
choosing comes from listening. Choosing comes from just learning who they are, you know, what they like, what they dislike. I think that, you know, we're all adults at that point, you know, and it's like how you treat people that you want to be treated. So once you get to know someone and their journey and the things that they've been through, you know, it's kind of like a connection.
Yeah.
And once you have that connection, it's all about, it doesn't matter if they go off and do things and you may not talk to them, you may not hear from them ever, you know, in 10 years, 15 years, but there was always a connection there that bonded you together, and I think that's what's important. So that's how the whole mother thing comes along.
Yeah, and I imagine it's got to be stressful for you as a mother to have all these folks who call you mother, and they're your kids, and they have all these amazing lives, and they all make different decisions and take different paths. How do you manage?
Well, I think I have like over 50 something kids, right? So having over that many kids is kind of like giving them all that time, you know. Everybody can't take all of your time at all times, but it's important enough that where you get with people and you give them their space to where they go off and do their things, and they learn, and they create their paths and their journeys, and they create their families. But just know that they know that you're there. You know, whenever you need them, you're there whenever they call you, you know, to advise them with anything.
Yeah.
So I'm able to, like, you know, work that out, you know, and
Yeah.
I've been doing it for such a long time to make them sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so many people don't understand this part of the queer culture, the ballroom culture, the pageant culture.
Mhm.
Folks see shows like they see shows like Legendary, and they see the performance aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it is so much more. So what are some notable instances where you've had to show up and show out as a mother off the stage?
That's what just governed myself with, like, meetings and even like side like hangouts with certain kids, because like I said earlier, like, everybody wants your time, you know, but you can't do it at every given moment of your life, because you have to have space for yourself, because you have to have that place of peace for you.
Yeah.
I think just being like the mother of like pageantry world and the ballroom world, it's funny because I grew a lot, like, learning from my kids, because my kids were something that was important to me, and the things that they may have went through in their life and the things that they have struggled through, I was able to, like, listen to those things and take heed to it, but also I was able to learn from it, because it showed me a different way of life, you know, and it showed me how to prep myself for certain things, you know, because sometimes they may go through a relationship problem. And I may be close to two of them that's going through the relationship problem and going through those problems, and listening to that, I would have to, like, not, like, stick to one side. It was like I have to listen to both parties, and I have to understand the feelings and the emotions of both parties. So for me, that is to what a mother is supposed to do, because, like, when you have kids and you have one that may be older or one may be younger, or you may have twins, you have to listen to them. You have to, like, take both sides in accountability and say, okay, well, I can't pick sides, but I have to teach you on this side and I have to teach you on this side. So for me, that was just what motherhood is all about for ballroom. I love that.
Love you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Safe Spaces.
Safe Spaces.
It's so amazing to reconnect with you today.
But I'm at Traffic every Sunday. We have two shows, one at 11:30 and one is at 2. And I am at the Heritage Nightclub every Monday night with the Stars of the Century. And you can catch me all around the world, traveling, performing, doing my thing. And you can catch me on Instagram at Stasha Sanchez, Twitter at Stasha Sanchez, you know, and yeah.
Thank you for that. What does a young queer person who's looking for the support and love and motherhood of Stasha Sanchez have to do to be connected with you?
For me, it's all about when you approach me, it has to be authentic. Being authentic is so much more appreciative than anything, especially like right now where I'm at in my life. I'm at a place of peace, and I pray every day, all day. Like, that's my journey. It's all about peace. It's about Zen. You know, it's about, you know, my candles and my sage, and it's all about just praying for peace. And with that peace becomes happiness, right? So I think that's what shows on the outside, because you're creating something on the inside of who you are, you know. And I think that's important, you know, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're coming to me, you definitely need to come to me with.
Come correct.
Yes. Come to me so I can understand you and I
Yeah.
can appreciate you and love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Stasha.
Of course.
Deviants, Stasha Sanchez.
You bring up a really important point of, like, being both Black and queer, right? Like, what are some external variants and sort of pressures that you have faced in curating spaces for Black queer people?
I know trying to find venues, like a party is a venue, and when you go in certain places in New York, I don't know if it's the same other places, but New York, you can go downtown and you always have to say, who is your demographic? Who's your demographic? And I feel more comfortable leading with, oh, they're gay, because they're not going to fuck your shit up. But when you say Black, they might be like, oh, urban. Okay, we don't do that on these nights. And when you go uptown, they will say, oh, we don't want that crowd when you say, oh, these are queer folks, or these are people. So I think ownership of spaces is so important.
Yeah.
And we have to continue to take up space when we are in spaces, because we benefit those spaces. Queer people spend so much money on high-end liquor and stuff like that.
Thank you so much for sharing. And then I'm curious, like, one, I can certainly attest to the same, like having to deal with those external factors when the club owners are white or if they're even black and not of the queer community. You're met again with these things of homophobia and racism, these undertones when you're trying to ask permission for spaces. So I love that, you and I are both in positions to kind of go on behalf of the community to make some things happen. But I know that there's also internal factors and sort of pressures that we face in our community because we are constantly dealing with these things and kind of putting on guard and armor to deal with them. So what kind of internal factors have you seen as you host events?
I like to think of it as imagine 100 different personalities and trying to put them in one space and make them get along because they are black and queer. Everyone comes with their own set of trauma. Everyone comes with their own set of, this is just how I do things. This is how I want to be approached. And the thing that I find most interesting is after talking to so many people coming through the party is no one really feels comfortable. No one really feels like, I want to go up and talk to this person, but I don't know if I can do it. That's why I hope Heaven Got a Gay Club. It would be lit. It would be the most ideal queer black space you can be in. And I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As you talk about Heaven having a gay club, it just brings me to imagine or to remember that we're able to at all times like form our own heaven here on earth, because safe space does begin here in the mind, and it's so, I know that it's so much easier said now that we're like adults who are independent because 14, 15-year-old Micah didn't have the ability to say that confidently. I was terrified at home, from home to church to school, where you're constantly meeting bullies, whether you're their teachers, peers, or your own parents. But I remember Pride, 2018 or 2017? But I remember Pride and being surrounded by allies and at the parade, and they said it was the largest Pride. It was the 50th anniversary of Stonewall.
Oh, wow.
And just, I remember how safe and loved I felt. And I said, nobody but God could have done this. You couldn't have told me in that moment that God didn't love me.
And was that one of your first times feeling like that?
Absolutely. And it was just remarkable to be surrounded by, I think they said it was some 6 million people that came out to New York Pride that year.
Yeah, and it has to let you know as a 12-year-old self that you are not alone. Because sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like I'm the only black gay person ever.
Yeah.
And getting around those people, you don't have to, I think the thing is about being queer is you don't have to like everybody in the community.
Yeah.
But there should be compassion, there should be pride and understanding oh, we had to do this by ourselves for the most part. We had to raise ourselves and get through life as an adolescent, which most people don't have to deal with. Straight people don't have to deal with that, like feeling othered because of who they like and not even having a rule book what to follow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And continuing our talks about safe spaces, we're here with a safe space creator, G. Smalls, author, entrepreneur, philanthropist, father, and we're going to talk about how it feels to create a safe space in Atlanta, a place that's so black and gay.
Yeah.
But first, I want to ask you about your book, Black Enough, Man Enough, where you say you knew you were different because you were called a faggot-ass half-breed. How does it feel to create a safe space coming out of that identity or that trauma?
Purposeful. I think that's the word I can use to sum it up. As you said, growing up and feeling different and feeling unsafe, to be at this age and to provide spaces for people where they can feel safe, it feels extremely purposeful.
And how did you come to purpose? Because you're talking about your restaurant wasn't always the thing you thought you were going to do, but you were saying walking in purpose helped you get there. What are some of the things that you remember from people coming into your establishment that made you feel like you're on the right path?
Straight up, because I feel like we've created a space in Atlanta here where it's unlike any space that a black, gay, same gender lover man could go into. You don't have many spaces where you can walk into and say that there is a black gay married couple that owns this space. And so to come into that space and not only just be tolerated or accepted, but loved and affirmed for who you are, it's just been an amazing experience, and I don't even think it's something that we could have created on our own. I know that we're just kind of vessels and tools to provide this space, so it's beyond us.
Now, you say you wanted the hard-hitting questions. It's me as a person who does nightlife, and I see you do nightlife and you have DJs.
Yeah.
And I know when you mix niggas and drinks,
Yeah.
what are some of the things you see happening that you can allow happen in your space that people won't allow to happen in their straight spaces?
I mean, I think I think it more so than what you see behavior-wise and physical-wise. It's a feeling, it's an energy that allows you to be free and liberated because you are surrounded around people who are you, and not just in the space where people invited you in, but the very space are people who are like you. I think it's the energy, and it's not being concerned. It's not watching around and see who's watching you. And to see brothers just loving on brothers and just a gentle hug or a kiss and not be afraid of who may be watching you is, I think, what we provided.
What are your first memories of places you felt safe?
Damn. What are my first memories of places I felt safe? I would say probably just kind of like being around friends or, being in, because a lot of times we feel most space in our homes or friends' homes. And it probably would be around in homes, in friends' homes. And I think that was one of the things we were able to do with Virgil's is you feel like home when you come in. It's our chairs. You can relax, you can sit down and just let your hair down, but it's probably around friends.
And I love how you mix culture and queerness. We don't get that a lot in Black culture.
Yeah.
Was it a natural process? You knew you wanted to do that, or what came first? Was it the culture or the queerness?
It was definitely natural because we opened Virgil's. The idea was to open a space where Black gay men could come and have a drink instead of going down to some of the places in Atlanta where there wasn't Black gay owned. But we know we had to serve food. And I just think it was destiny that we decided that we was going to serve food from our culture, which is Gullah Geechee culture, which is the oldest Black culture in America, the first Black culture here in America. Most Black people can trace their roots to Charleston, South Carolina, because most of us came in off the boat in Charleston, South Carolina. So, I mean, it was extremely magical to do because we didn't even think of that. And now it really has become
the most touching moment was to see someone have a release, just a crying release on a dance floor. And as an entrepreneur, I can imagine you see that a lot with people who don't have places to go that are affirming and celebratory of them. So do you have any stick out moments?
I do. So long before Virgil's, we created an event called the Gentleman's Ball back in November 11th, 2011. And again, we created that event. It was a black tie affair, fundraiser, 3-course meal, entertainment. And we created that event because we would always go to these black tie fundraisers in Atlanta that were predominantly white, put on by white organizers, which is fine. We love our white brothers. But, why don't we have spaces like this for us? And so we decided we was going to create the Gentleman's Ball. And the Gentleman's Ball celebrates and we give award and honor people in the community that help push social change. So on the first Gentleman's Ball, which was 11/11/11, somebody actually proposed to somebody at the Gentleman's Ball. And did not expect that. It was a surprise for everybody. But that really affirmed us to know that we created this space, all black gay men, tuxedos, it was fancy. And for somebody to stand in the middle to profess their love for somebody in such a public space, which was one of the points and one of the purposes for creating that event, to show that we weren't in the closet, we weren't in the DL, we were progressive men in this society doing great things. And for somebody to be able to feel safe enough in that space, not even knowing where they were coming to, because it was the first one, and felt safe enough to do that, was definitely an affirmation.
And that ball had so much outreach. It reached so many people.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it because I know of you before the restaurant and before the book, and I was like, this is so beautiful to see people dressed up, see black queer men dressed up and with each other, and that is like an ultimate safe space because you can be not only black and queer, but you can dress up. You can have fun. You can have those things that we don't usually get. What was the spark of that inspiration to do that?
Me and my husband got married in 2009, And I had been married to my son's mother. I had done the straight thing, tried to live the normal life. And I had finally got around to where I was completely comfortable with myself. And I had, this amazing man and husband that I was proud to be with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, I wanted to do a second chance prom.
Oh, wow.
Because, we went to prom, but chances are we didn't really go to prom and had a good time who we really wanted to go with. So we was like, let's do the second chance prom for the black gay men in the community. We can raise money, we can dress up. And so that was the inspiration of creating the Gentleman's Ball. And again, it just evolved way past that. And so after we had the event and all the press started coming out and the pictures started coming out, we noticed this thing that we had created to see these images that we hadn't seen before. And social media was kind of fresh at the time. You didn't see many couples. And so to be able to see those images and how it just kind of permeated the community in and outside of Atlanta, it just became a big thing. And so now we're like, 10 years plus, and it's become this, it was a movement at the time. You know what I mean?
Still a movement. It's still a movement.
I appreciate that, but it definitely was a movement at the time. And so, it was beyond us.
And as a father, what does it mean for your child to be able to see safe spaces?
Everything. And so I've always been very open with my son. My son, I believe in teaching kids as adults, and so we speak to him as an adult. But it's to see him be so and so comfortable and confident, and to know I was a part of that. I mean, that's my biggest joy. That's my biggest joy, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
you're
learned
welcome.
so much.
You're
I
welcome.
had a great time talking to you.
Likewise.
Please continue to create more
Thank
spaces
you.
because we need them.
Thank you.
Hey Deviants, and welcome to another episode and interview with Dustin Finnell of Day in the District. Day in the District is an amazing event held in Washington, D.C. It does cater to black and brown queer folks, and I know it to be just an enjoyable space. Dustin, for those who don't know, can you tell us more about Day in the District?
We started about 8 years ago. We host events. We do a lot of online things as far as pushing fashion. We push music. We push lifestyle within the queer community. We try to highlight each other, to make sure because we have so many people that work in that lane, so we want to make sure we give them a platform. But we also like to just throw an amazing party at the same time. So it's a little bit of both. Like I said, we've been doing it for 8 years. I started it with just an idea of helping a friend with his birthday party and going to venues and meeting different venues and management and asking them the right questions. I had one particular manager, she asked me, she was like, "Do you do this for a living?" And I'm like, no. And she was like, "I think you should." So it sat with me, I thought about it, and I just took that and I just ran with it. So it's been like 8 years now. So
Wow. You've mentioned Richmond, that's where you're from.
Yeah, well, so I was born in North Carolina.
Okay.
Some little small town you probably never heard of.
Okay.
And then I moved to Richmond for high school, and I stayed there. And then I moved to Maryland, D.C. area about 8 years ago. So yeah.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into your life and who Dustin was growing up.
Okay.
Tell us about your raising.
Okay, so like I said, I'm from the South. I'm a country boy, still at heart. That's just where I've always go back to. Grew up in the church, grew up in a Southern atmosphere where that could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing as far as being a gay black, kid, because I wasn't able to be expressive or even learn about that side of me when it came to my sexuality,
Yeah.
And so being down south, you had to do certain things, dress certain ways to just pretty much fit the mold of a Southern kid,
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I moved to Richmond and then moving to DC where I was able to kind of really step into myself more and kind of be comfortable even saying I'm a gay black man, because being in the South, that's to me, saying it out loud, it's immediately knocking 10 notches off your belt, it's being a man, so I'm kind of glad I did that transition and moved, to DC because it just allowed me to be more comfortable. And so even now when I go back home, I kind of have flashbacks of being that little young black boy in that space of not being able to be expressive and be myself. And so that's what makes it even more important to me doing what I do and allowing spaces for like the younger queer community, gay community to just be themselves and, you know, come out earlier and just be okay with talking to their families about their sexualities and who they hang out with and all that kind of stuff. Because for me, it was such a, like, something that I kind of hid for so many years, you know?
And I can only imagine that it takes a toll, right? When you're hiding who you are from those who are closest to you, who are raising you. Dustin, what would you say if you could close your eyes with me for just a moment?
Okay.
And I want you to picture yourself back there in your hometown from North Carolina, and a younger you who is feeling, this episode is about safe spaces, you're feeling unsafe. You have those 10 notches knocked off your belt, but no one else knows and you're constantly hiding. What do you say to younger you now in offering advice?
I would say be comfortable, and first of all, in who you are, and, you know, look at yourself as being a young Black African American, you know, young man that's going to transition into, you know, a young king, pretty much, because I never looked at myself that way, you know. And so even now, it's kind of hard to think about, like I said, that childhood me, because I spent so many years not really being able to be myself. And so that's the first thing I always tell young guys when I meet them. Just tap into who you are, you know, and just figure out who that is, and just be that, you know, and just grow into that, you know, learn yourself, you know, what you like and what you don't like, you know, because that's going to matter when you get older, you know what I mean? So, definitely.
How do you see safe spaces that you're providing now really going to benefit and change other Black queer kids?
Because I think it's, to me, that safe space is where it starts as far as being comfortable in your sexuality. So if you can go into a space of feeling comfortable and being around other people that's going through that same journey that you are, to me, that's half the battle in itself, you know? And so when you start to be comfortable in that space, you can go back into your family spaces, your work spaces, and let them know who you are and be okay with it, you know what I mean? And also show them that gay doesn't all look the same, you know what I mean? Because I think, especially in the South, so many people have what they think gay looks like. Like even for me, being a 6'6" Black man, you know, people don't pretty much, they look at me and they question it sometimes, you know, but I'm like, all gay doesn't look the same. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for doing the work.
Oh, no problem.
And thank you for joining us here on DVN TV.
Thank you for having me.
Dustin, where can folks go to find out more about you, about Day in the District?
They can follow us on Instagram at DayInTheDistrict_. We're on Twitter at ILoveDITD. We don't have a schedule as far as how we throw our events. We kind of like to do it at random, which makes it kind of exciting. So just follow us and, you know, check out our events, check out our social media content. You know, we're always posting something, doing something. So
let's ask ourselves, like, what are the benefits of being in safe spaces? Like, why do we need Black and brown queer safe spaces?
Everyone deserves to feel fulfilled. Like you were talking about that moment in Pride, everyone deserves that. When we don't have that, we feel less worthy. When you feel less worthy, you are more likely to start behaviors that aren't healthy for you. You're less worth. You're going to do less things that are great for your life. Billy Porter said it best. I think it was so thought-provoking. He said the first thing they do to you as a Black queer person is take God away from you. And when you don't have that, in our community, because religion is such a big thing we're raised with, what are you? Why are you out here?
Just to piggyback off what you said, I know that health professionals call it risky behaviors that we participate in our community. Right now, the CDC cites that half of all Black men who have sex with men and a quarter of all Latinx men who have sex with men will contract HIV in their lifetime. We're also twice as likely as our heterosexual counterparts to use and abuse illicit substances. And that is probably at a means of trying to escape a lot of these harsh realities we've talked about and just trying to let our hair down for once. But I do think that as we create these safe spaces, we create places for our community to feel worthy, to feel valued, to feel seen, and invisible a little bit too. Just be human.
And to say that in 2021, going on 2022, it's crazy because the gay rights movement has been happening. And if you want to really talk about it, the first person to bring gay rights to court is a drag queen in the 1820s. But you never hear about that. You never know. And he was creating a safe space. And they shut him down for a house of ill repute.
You
So,
recall that name right now?
Avon Dorsey.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Awesome. Well, folks, we really want to hear back from you. We want to thank you so much for joining us in this conversation today on Safe Spaces, episode 1 of Deviant TV. If you would please give us your voices, give us your hearsay, and what you have to say at deviant.live/play. That's where you can find these videos. You can also find a survey where we're wanting to hear back from you.
great convo.
Yeah, thank you guys.